It really is.
Yeah.
Electronics. It's almost
Yes.
over the 20th. Mercury will go direct, and hopefully this will all stop being weird.
I sure hope so.
Well, good thing we're being brave. And now we're going to talk about how you can be brave while you're dating. Because
Hmm.
I think dating can feel kind of scary for a lot of reasons for people. So we'll talk about all the scary reasons it can feel hard to go dating and how you can be braver. We'll come up with some suggestions for you to feel braver while you're dating.
Absolutely.
Barry and I'd love to welcome you to the newsstreamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
Yeah, I tell my clients all along the time that we're talking, just setting up appointments to talk, to really officially coach with me, I think is very brave because
Yeah.
it's hard, and to do something new and hard, I think people should give themselves a big pat on the back for being brave.
I strongly suspect that most people who are dating are afraid to even get help, let alone to date better than they are. So this conversation could be both pushing some buttons and giving people some hope.
I hope the hope. I really do hope the hope, because it's not brain surgery. It's not insurmountable. It really can be fun, which so many people can't even imagine that word being in the vocabulary with dating because they think it's torture and frustrating and tedious and awful and unrewarding. And I just have heard all the reasons why people want to just give up. And I realize all those reasons. And when you approach it in the way that most people approach it, it can be very discouraging. And then putting yourself out there and the thought of being vulnerable and how much do you share, and maybe letting your heart get hurt again, because nobody wants to get hurt again and again and again. So it does take an act of bravery to say, okay, I want to go do this thing that feels really scary and hard. And how could I make it feel a little less scary and a little less hard? Right?
Yeah, because I think that's the real truth is that most people are afraid to get their hearts hurt again, try the way around. Not their hurt heart again, their heart hurt again. Because the thing is, because we all want to have love in our lives. It feels like most people want to have love in their lives, at least the most insane people. And the challenge is that we don't know until we're in relationship with this person if we're going to be in relationship with them. So, of course, every first date, every few first dates, or every first few dates, which switching the words around today is fun, are a test ground. They're experiments. They're leaning in. And so you've no idea if it's going to work or not. So there is a certain fear. And it is a challenge because I think for some reason some people, the dating apps are easier because there's less contact. You're looking at a picture, you're not interacting with somebody, so you can basically sort of swipe away from them and not worry about it. But you meet somebody in real life, so to speak, physically, in like reality, then you sort of take into account their feelings, and then you take into account your feelings. So there's a much more likelihood that you're going to have your stuff come up because you're now interacting with somebody versus just looking at a screen on your phone.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. Being in more personal contact, more eye to eye, face to face, worried that you're going to say the wrong thing or too much, or put your foot in your mouth, or they won't like what you wore or like what you do. I mean, the big word that pops up in front of lots of people that feel like warning, Will Robinson, for the people that are our age group that watched Lost in Space.
Yeah.
The rejection word comes up really big for people, and they don't want to feel rejected. So one of the ways that I talk to my clients a lot about when you're going out, even in a group, to meet a bunch of new people or to go one-on-one and meet a new person over coffee or lunch or for a walk, is you don't know each other well enough to reject them and for them to reject you as a person. You don't
Right.
know each other as people. I mean, I've talked a couple times about the poor guy that I dated early on in my online dating, who was so nice to me. He had so many great attributes, and I really liked him. And when it came time after the third date, because that's usually when I want to kiss them, I couldn't because he looked so much like my dad. And I was really hoping I'd get over it because he was so lovely. It
Yeah.
just wasn't going to happen. And there was nothing he could do about it. And I wasn't rejecting anything about him. In fact, he looked nice, just he could have been younger, but he could have been my dad's brother. He looked so much like him, and it just felt too weird.
Yeah.
I, I don't know if I could now, older and wiser, but I sure couldn't have then. So it wasn't him at all. There wasn't anything bad about him. So I wasn't, even after 3 dates, I wasn't rejecting him. But often we take it as a rejection, that if
Yeah.
somebody doesn't even answer a like on a profile or doesn't respond to an initial text or something, we say that we've been rejected or they've ghosted me. And it's not the truth. You are going on false evidence because there's been no connection. There's been no conversation about who am really, and you don't like that. Okay, well then you are rejecting that part of me, but still not horrible. And you tell me more about you and I go, yeah, that's not for me, but I'm not rejecting you as a whole person. I just don't, that trait doesn't fit me. But that is one of the biggest stop signs that I get from people, where they say, I'm so worried about getting rejected. That is the big word.
And the ghosting thing for a second, ghosting is a coward's approach. So to not ghost is to be brave. Basically, is that you tell somebody, if you're in communication with them, it's like, this is not an out for me. It's not what I'm looking for. And for me, it's like, I know for myself that what I'm looking for is a certain set of skills, so to speak. It's a quote taken. But basically, somebody who's got a certain way of being, what they're about, what they've learned, everything else. And I mean, somebody who's very attractive, but if they don't have those pieces of the spectrum, wrong word, but they haven't got those pieces in place, they don't line up on those levels, I'm not interested in going out with them. And again, it's not about them, it's about what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And willing to look at it and say, this is what I'm looking for. And if the person doesn't match it, that's who they are. It's not about judging them, it's about what I'm choosing for myself. And that's a really honest way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And it is that this the dance of romance is it's interesting because for some people it's a very obstacle and hurdle ridden experience for them. It's not easy to do, and so they get very nervous, they get scared, they don't want to take it on. The reality is, though, the dating experience can be a whole lot of fun and easy, which we're going to talk about later on as well. Because when you start realizing that there's nothing for you to get hurt about, because if they reject what you present to them, that's their perception, it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
It makes things so much easier, so much less stressful.
So true. And so part of being a brave dater is being really clear about who you are first and what you bring to a relationship. What's the gift that you are? What's the things that they need to qualify for to receive these gifts from you? And what you're looking for in another person. And if they're not that, they're just not your person.
Right.
So Barry and I both said out loud that the people that would be intimately in our life have to be interested in personal growth, have had to take in classes, and they don't have to be quite as voracious as me, because I do get a pretty good fix talking with clients all day. They do have to have some, I need them to be open and interested about it. I need them to be curious. I need them to have studied something about some sort of psychology kind of area, just because they thought it would make their life better and more interesting. I look for that when I bring up stuff about the kind of things I'm reading and the kind of seminars I've taken, and to see if they're at least interested in asking questions about it, or if they're. So Allison Armstrong has this boyfriend that she's had for a while since her husband died, and he didn't know who she was, which was kind of interesting because they met through online dating. And he was a hockey player. And so he'd done a lot of studying about sports and a little bit of the psychology about sports, but not relationship psychology. So she told him, when they were starting to get serious, you have to watch every single thing I've ever done, and here's the order. And he's now watched every single thing she's done in that order. And he's gone back and watched a couple of them because he understood that was very important to her. And he was very into her. And he wanted to make sure that he quite got her, and that she's now learned about hockey, which cracks me up because she's never even knew anything about hockey. And they go,
Hey,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very fair. So even when they're not that, if they're willing to learn to be that, if they're curious about that, if they're curious enough about you and what you're about, and they're willing to go, Yeah, I wanted to think of Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, that he was into race cars and she was into the ballet. And sometimes they go to the other person's thing, but mostly they'd go to their separate things and then they'd come share it with each other because they were interested in hearing about the other person's passion. So
Right.
that part of the bravery of honoring, because often, especially the females, we want to turn ourselves into pretzels so that they'll like us. Oh, yeah, I love golf. Well, they don't. Or I love hiking and they don't. But if you want to learn golf, find somebody that's interested in teaching you. That would be really good. The people I used to volunteer for at the equine therapy ranch, she went to take golf lessons and married her golf pro. So you never know. And then he got on a horse and went, yeah, I'm not very good at that, but I think it's cool that you do it. But it was fine for both of them.
That is the thing. Is they do say sometimes like opposites attract. So people with different habits, different choices, different preferences might be attracted to each other. But the thing is, if you're sitting there and I'm watching my own list in my head at the same time as I'm talking about this as well, just to be transparent, be honest about it.
Yeah.
Like, for
Aren't we
example,
both?
and so I've been on a dedicated spiritual path for the last 35, 40 years. So to be with somebody who has either no perception of spirituality at all or is a very strict religious person, we won't have common ground to play on. And that's not, again, nothing wrong with them, nothing wrong with me, just different. So to be willing to date and know there's people out there who do not match your criteria, even broad strokes criteria, is a recognition of differences, and that's okay, because none of that is emotionally weighted. So you don't feel like you're rejected or feel that you've made a mistake or that you're basically a victim or anything like that stuff. You're being brave because you're willing to say, you know what, I'm going to go meet some people who may be nothing like what I want, but it gets me out of my shell and gets me into the world, gets me to start learning about people, which we'll talk about more
And
later.
you get practice about saying, this is who I am. And what do you think about that?
Yeah,
Because they're either going to go, really like that, really don't like it, or tell me more. I mean, those are the responses I've given and received to
yeah,
see, oh, I'm really all about that. Gosh, I'm so excited we have that. And wow, I can't even imagine. I mean, the people that live in RVs, I God bless them. I think it's terrific. And I love watching their pictures. I have two really close friends that are doing it. It would never be me. I would never live in one. I barely think I could do a weekend in one. So we could never be romantic people, but I'm really good friends with them. And I think being friends is just perfect because I see all their adventures and I never have to go do it. So then there's the tell me more. Wow, like Joanne Woodward and Paul Newman that I'm really interested in, or like Allison and Dan. Yeah, I really want to learn about that, even though I know nothing. I'm really open to learning, and now he's a big proponent and could spout out a lot of her stuff. So that's you're looking for. What is going to be their answer when you say this is a big piece of who I am, and it's what I'm looking for a partner, or I'm looking for somebody who could support me in that. Because
right.
what I've learned is it's really helpful to have some really core commonalities. But boy, to meet somebody that has a strength that you don't have in this really different area, oh, I so missed that with my late husband
Yeah,
because there were some real core things, the family values and really looking out for people that needed some help. But boy, we had very different strengths in lots of things. And it was so nice because we could really depend on the other person to balance it out. So looking for that too, that I think part of the challenge nowadays is women are so busy going, I don't need a man. I could do all this stuff and I am all this thing. And then no men show up. And I said, well, you haven't left room of, well, this is something I am not good at, or I would just as soon never do again. And do you like doing that kind of stuff? Because I think it'd be great to have you come do this. So they forget to say that. I had this conversation last night with a girlfriend, and they forget to say that how can we still play together even if we aren't going to have the same things? Because it's not very interesting if you have all the same things.
right.
And it's
And
brave to say it out loud.
well, that's the thing. Being honest is a brave act. To be truthful is a brave act. The thing that I was talking to somebody about recently was that her commitment, and I sort of go along the same idea. She wants to make friends first. And I know you have a system of what you believe the timing is, but there's the thing is, a lot of people go on first dates thinking they've got to do everything up front on the first date. That's why they're so nervous, and that's the reason why dating is such a challenge if you think that way. But if you go on a date with somebody, that's why, again, I recommend, and I know some people hate this, but I recommend having a pre-date, a coffee date. You meet somebody first to get to know if you want to go on a real date with them. It's like you don't have to go in like, guns blazing, trying to get it all to happen. If you spend the time getting to know somebody, and I have circles of friends that I hang out with and stuff, and in some areas we just do not connect on. That's fine, but they're still my friends.
Mhm.
So it makes it easier to meet somebody who might be interested in being in a relationship who doesn't have everything matching as well. So it is about, and I would say it this way, it's brave to be visible in the world of dating, and it's brave to hope to own your message and your words and what you talk about. So this isn't necessarily about brave about meeting people. It's about brave about who you bring to the conversation.
Being really comfortable with who you are, being honest with who you are with yourself first.
Hmm.
You know, what kind of people do you like to hang around with? How much alone time do you need? What kind of things do you want to talk about? What kinds of things do you not going to talk about in the beginning and maybe later? So, oh, we have a question.
Oh,
Should attraction like a small kiss on the cheek always require consent in this age of dating? I've done it and it's already seemed to surprise the person. Should I change with the times and ask first? Well, I'm a girl, so I'm assuming that's a guy. I don't know what your name is, but for my side, there was a
no.
poll on Facebook and we asked this question, and 10% of the women said they needed to be in a committed relationship before you could kiss them at all, even on the cheek. And the other halves that were left, one complete half said they didn't want to be asked. They just wanted you to kiss them. And the other half that was left said they wanted to be asked ahead of time. That's me. I want to be asked ahead of time.
Hmm.
So, what I tell my male clients, of which I have a lot, is either ask, and the ones who don't want to be asked, they'll tell you yes or no, or look at them. If they've allowed you to hug them, then stay put and see if they back up. If they stay put, well, you've hugged them and you're now face to face looking. If they don't move, then go ahead and kiss them on the cheek. And if they don't move again, then you probably can kiss them a little bit. That's
It's like
often, yes,
Yeah,
working up to it. But if we back up, that's not a rejection. That's just, that's all I want for right now.
yeah.
So then you could say, gosh, next time you see them, would it be all right if I gave you a kiss on the cheek? So that person probably would like to be asked.
Hmm.
But I'm telling you, it's a 50-50 gamble. It was such a odd, I was so amazed and I guess not surprised.
Well, the thing for me is about this is the challenge is because so many people have walls up, unfortunately, because of what's been happening the last several years, and respect and boundaries and all those sort of things. And I teach my clients about boundaries, having healthy respect for other people. The thing about that kiss on the cheek is it's in that grey area, because kiss on the lips is a big step forward, whereas a hug is it's like a kiss on the cheeks between a hug and a kiss on the lips. It's like
Yes.
it's that in between stage, that liminal space. So it has a sense of should be okay or it might not be okay. That's the challenge. So absolutely it is a place to be. The thing I would say is, and this is challenging for men because their intuition isn't that strong, is to be sensitive. If she's reaching out and stroking your arm or she's touching you and she's reconnecting with you, there's a space she's inviting you into that maybe you didn't realize you had. Not to be over the top, not to push the boundaries, but a kiss on the cheek is in that sort of space for me.
Mhm.
But if she's still keeping a space from you, not touching you, not connecting with you, that's a pretty clear indication she's not ready to go any further. Again,
Mhm.
it's not a no, it's a not yet. So
Yeah.
again, not having this sense of it's got to be now or nothing, because that's going to basically be impossible to work with. But understanding that there's spacing and there's time is, because the thing about it also is if you're with somebody you like and it's going to take time to get to know them, what's the rush? You know, take the time. Don't rush into the kissing on the cheek, because it may be something you want to savor and wait until a certain point in time it can happen. But it isn't now. The next time and the time after that could be fine. You know.
I hope that that answers your question. Thank you so much for asking. It's so nice to get to answer live questions. We like that. And one of the big benefits of this podcast is that you get both sides, the male and female perspective. So I hope that that's really a complete answer for you. If not, write again. So we're
So,
getting ready for our commercial break. Barry's so good at watching the time because I just love talking. So
what can
if this is striking a chord of, oh my gosh, I've been so afraid to get on online dating or even to go to meetups or because of the stuff that's happened to me and I don't know how to get brave, boy, Barry and I would be so happy to help you through this. It's a surmountable journey. I promise. You can get to the other side and actually feel okay. You really can. So if you'd like to talk to me, the best way to do that is to go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com, and scroll to the middle of the page, and you'll see a What's Holding You Back from Love questionnaire. It has 10 brief questions that tell you let us both know where you are in your journey of dating. Are you just beginning, and are you totally terrified and haven't even started? And then you can schedule a complimentary conversation with me right there in my online calendar, something to talk with me at your convenience. You can also send me an email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. And how would people reach you, Barry?
In a similar fashion, you can reach out to me through my website as well. My new website is my name, easy to find, so barryselby.com. And at the top of the homepage of my website is a button you can click on, which is Let's Chat. That's actually under the header. So click on that button and say Let's Chat. That'll take you to my calendar. We schedule a time to talk to me, and also fill out a form, because I'd like to know a little bit about you before we have a conversation. And it'll be a Zoom conversation most likely. And you fill out the form, get on my schedule, and we'll have a conversation, a gift from me to you, 20 minutes to discuss where you are and throw some tips in your toolkit so you can work with that as well and see if you want to work together. If you want to send me an email, you just send me one at barry@barryselby.com, and we'll tell you all about the rest of our stuff at the end of the show.
Yeah, our stuff.
Our stuff.
So we'll be taking a commercial break for our wonderful network, the newstreamingnetwork.com, that distributes our shows and our podcasts. And then we'll be right back to talk more about how to be a brave dater.
See you in a moment.
And we're back with Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. And today we're talking about being a brave dater.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can just feel very intimidating. Even if you haven't started dating, you've heard the stories about the bad things that have happened to people, or you've seen movies about it. And so it really often just takes an act of bravery and pull up your bootstraps, as people will say. But you don't have to go alone. That's why Barry and I are here every week talking about this and talk to our clients about it, because it's not, if you do it right, if you go into this brave and informed, it won't be dangerous. Horrible things don't happen. The worst that could happen is that you've done your due diligence and you've gotten with somebody and you both really like each other, and then for some reason something's come up that it's not going to work out. That's really hard. It's really hard. Or for me, my love of my life that I waited over 20 years to find, 5 years after we got married, died suddenly. I'm still very willing to be dating and looking for another person, because as I had my client in her 80s that wanted to get married again for the third time after being widowed twice, she said, I have all this love to give and to receive. And as you said in the very beginning of our show today, most people would really like to find somebody that they could love and that would love them back. And generally, since we don't have arranged relationships or marriages nowadays as a practice, certainly in our country, you need to go do it yourself. And so learning how to do it yourself, this is the DIY of dating, but with somebody, an expert helping you along. I was watching the Property Brothers last night, so we like the Property Brothers.
Right.
You don't go do it by yourself, because that's what scares people, that they are going to do something wrong, or they did something wrong and they don't know how to not do that again. We can help you through that.
And for a lot of people who watch our show, and certainly a lot of my clients, they basically got to have a relationship that started way before there was online dating and everything else too. So this is a whole new game to play, a whole new playground. And so for them, it can be, you might have a certain trepidation jumping into it. And I understand it totally. It's one reason I hold my clients' hand walking through their journey. But the other part also is, and this is something we don't talk about so much in the dating side, but it's true for me in working with my clients, is that oftentimes we are coming out into dating wounded from past relationships, heartbreak or abuse or neglect or distrust. All sorts of things happen in past relationships. It's part of the human experience. And so we may be walking into the dating arena with those fears right in front of us that we're so unwilling to date because we're scared of that happening again.
Mhm.
And I've heard this so many times from clients about, I don't want to repeat the same pattern I had before, so I don't want to do it. So it's almost like safer not to date, period. So I understand the desire to sort of be safe as well. The challenge is that if you don't do the inner work, and I talk about this a lot again in my own work, to change your wiring or change your belief systems, you are tend to attract the same sort of people again and again. So yes, it won't be good for you if you don't do anything different. You will repeat the same mistakes. Of course, it will be painful. So you might not want to do that. So take the time before you go on date again to seek help from one of us two or somebody else who you trust to really navigate who you've been looking for, so you can change the magnetic pull, so to speak, so you draw somebody else in who's different from that.
Such a basic place for people to start. And the thing that I've watched happen is even the people who were really scared. I mean, there's so many different levels on the scale of being scared. Once they started doing it this way differently, figuring out what do you really want and only really meeting people and spending time with people that had some of the top things, and then you see, do they have the other things that aren't quite as important? They started feeling more empowered, period, in their
Yeah.
life. And that's when they kept saying, gosh, I'm having better relationships with my family and my children and my coworkers, because
Surprise.
it's so fascinating how transferable this skill is. So you could practice on your friends, you could practice on your colleagues. Friends, I tell them what you're doing, that they'll be hopefully got the right kind of friends that are going to be willing partners to let you practice this new skill, so that now when you're practicing, when you're dating, because I tell you, you're not vetting them to see if you want to have breakfast across the table for them for the rest of your life. You're
Right.
figuring out, do I feel comfortable being with them? Do I feel heard and seen? Do they seem interested in me? And am I interested in listening to them? Am I curious about what they're doing? Enough to now want to see them another time. Sometimes I've met people that were so interesting for one date, and that was enough. But they were very interesting. I learned all sorts of things I didn't know that were happening in the world. And there were enough traits that weren't there that there wasn't really a point to go on.
Right.
So, but it was still interesting, and I got more practice. That's why when people say, how can you say this so easy? I said, well, in my personal life, I said it hundreds of times. And now that I've been coaching, I've said this thousands of times. So it's, I practiced. So I encourage people to just, what is it you need and want in your life, and tell people. I mean, you
Hmm.
never know who they know. If you say, I've been really looking for somebody that I'm studying this, or I've been doing that, and they go, I know somebody that does that, or they've been teaching that, or their brother does that. You never know. So if you get brave about talking about what you're up to, what you're passionate about, what you're excited about to everybody that'll listen, that you've now practiced, so that now when you're sitting across from somebody, especially if you think they're really cute and you go blah, 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 because they're so cute, it's easier to get the words out a little better because you've been practicing with all these other people, that it didn't matter if you went blah, blah, blah in front of them.
That basically sums it up perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
but, but it is that.
Practice, practice, practice.
I mean, I've definitely had it. I've had a gift the last several years now, where ability to speak spontaneously without rehearsing and practicing. But I know most people don't. So for people out there who felt like they don't know what to say, they worry about the wrong things, if you do practice ahead of time in front of the mirror, not to be like doing things by rote, but just to feel comfortable saying things that you may not have been used to saying in public, because you basically don't say these things at work. You say these things when you're out, romantically. So by having, it's almost like you're warming yourself up to be able to talk on that level comfortably, not about the words you've said, but just getting the energy moving. So yes, to have that fluidity in practice can take some effort. But the things, if you do it before you go out, not say much religiously, but just doing it as a way of just like warming up your vocal cord, so to speak, in a sense.
Yeah.
Then when you get and meet somebody, you can talk in that arena comfortably without being like a klutz or being a baby doing it. You can do it very comfortably. So yeah, practice is good.
Everything you get good at or better at, it's only because you practiced,
Yeah.
that you have a talent, that you have, you do a sport, you do a craft, you do your work, you play pickleball, whatever you keep getting better at, it's because you practiced. So
Yeah.
do the same thing with this. Practice saying who you are and asking other people who they are. not even just do they have the same interests as you, that's certainly a place to start, but gosh, what lights you up? What's the most interesting thing you just learned in the last month? Because you never know what they know. And even if it's not something that you want to date, it might be, wow, I needed that, or I know somebody that needs that, or gosh, I want to learn more about it because I'd like to get involved. The conversations can't always be about, do I want to have breakfast with this person for the rest of my life? But often when we're dating and we're really wanting somebody, our field of focus, our focus needs to be, this is who we are and what we're looking for, but not to the exclusion of just not talking to people that aren't that, so that you can keep practicing to just talk to people. Even the most introverted person, practice, and you brought this up, practice with your friends, practice with the people that already love and care about you, whether if you have family like that or friends like that, practice so that when you're now in front of the one person, because you'd much rather talk one-on-one than in a big group, you've practiced talking this way about sharing what's important to you and asking them what's important to them. Practice with your friends.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's a couple things on that. One of which is, when you practice with your friends, you've got the routine down. So basically, meet somebody new. It's not different, because the truth is, as someone said in a movie years ago, strangers are just friends you haven't met yet. So if you work with your friends, you build that practice up. The other part is, we talked about this in a previous show quite a while ago as well. If you haven't already taken yourself out on a date when you're single, just go out with yourself. Do that too, because first of all, it gives you a different worldview, because you get to watch people and be around other people. And there's something about taking yourself out on a date which makes you more comfortable in your own skin. To meet somebody else, you're not looking for them to do something for you. So it's a little shift, and it sounds subtle, but it really works well, is when you do take the time to enjoy your own company. Like, I'm going to go outside. I'm going this afternoon to take myself to a movie because I wanted to. I don't want to wait for somebody else to be ready for it.
Yeah.
So things that you want to do for yourself, whether it's dinner, movie, going to a show, going hiking, we talked about earlier, doing things that you enjoy doing for yourself, it gives you more, what it does in a way, sort of grounds you in your own beingness. And that means when you do meet somebody, you'll tend to find yourself staying in that beingness. Because one of the biggest challenges I found when I used to go on dates a long time ago is I'd be with that person, I'd be so caught up in their story, so caught up in what's going on, I'd lose track of myself. I wouldn't stay connected to myself, which is not a good way to be on a date. Yeah. So I was flexing those muscles, so to speak, building up the strength inside yourself to be present with who you are. When you meet somebody else, you don't disappear from yourself.
Very true. You really have to stay intact, which is why I tell people, your number one attainable expectation when you go meet a new person or a group of people is, how am I doing? Am I feeling comfortable? What would help me feel more comfortable now? Or what would make me feel more comfortable next time? What are the people that are interacting with me? They're not. I'm going to excuse myself and move on to another person if I'm in a group. Staying connected with yourself. This is the kind of questions I have people keep running in their head. How's this going? How am I okay with this? What should I could do different? Oh, right. I have this fun question I had thought up to do. And then the other attainable thing is that you're going to ask, I'm interested in you, questions of them, not to whether or not you're going to date them, just to find out what they're doing in the world. What things have they read or seen? What movies have they seen recently, and what have they learned? I mean, you just never know what people are going to spark up with. It's kind of fascinating. And another in between thing that I love suggesting to mostly women, but men too, men are easier at this, is to find a local really nice restaurant that has a bar that's part of it, and go, especially if they have a happy hour, because then it's less expensive, and sit at the bar and talk to the bartender. They are the best at this. Watch how they ask you about yourself and you don't have to have alcohol. I mean, you could have a non-alcohol drink, but watch what they do when they talk to you, that they're really skilled at getting you to talk about them. And then whatever question they ask them back, so that you can now oh, I never thought about asking that question. I'll ask that question too, because they are hired for this skill. They're so good at making you feel welcome and warm, because that's their job. That's how they get paid by the bar, and they get good tips from us because they made us feel welcome and warm and seen and happy. They're perfect people to practice with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. That there are so many
Especially
people.
if it's a guy and you find a girl bartender. That's a
Well, yeah.
good skill to get. Yeah.
The thing I was going to say is that there are so many people in the service industries and also in retail businesses that have learned how to be more comfortable talking to strangers, because that's their job. it's in a sense, when you are dating going on first dates, you are meeting strangers. As I mentioned, they're strangers, friends you haven't met yet. So you got to start with somebody you don't know yet. So you don't have familiarity or connections. And one of the things that's this, just an idea about something that basically when you have somebody who you know already, there's familiarity. It's like you've got connections and things you can lean on. With somebody new, you don't have that yet. So it can feel a little bit like there's no stability between you yet. I'm just sort of picturing this idea about you walking along and meeting somebody, and when you met somebody you already know, there's already a balance you have when you stand together and it works really well. But with somebody stranger, you don't know how, do they zig or do they zag? You don't know how it works that way. So as you said through the show, spending time getting to know your own self and standing your own truth when you meet somebody means you already are solid and stable. So if they aren't or they are, it doesn't make a difference to who you are. But if they are, it adds to the experience so you can have more fun with that. So I hope this is kind of metaphorical as I'm saying this, but I hope it makes sense, is that truth is when we stand in our own truth and meet somebody new, then we can be much more comfortable. And that means we don't have to be brave, we just be able to be real. Because brave is an implication that we've got to be courageous to step forward. So the truth is, just being real is strong enough.
And certainly I have heard from both sides, both men and women, who have said one of the most attractive qualities they see and feel and desire is self-confidence. And somebody that seems to be comfortable in their own skin and comfortable talking to you, even when they're nervous. It's attractive. It's attracting. It makes you want to spend more time with them. So when you get two people that meet each other that are strangers, you don't know if you're going to want to see them another time, but look at the comfort that you're going to have in yourself and that you're going to allow them to feel from you, and they're going to have in their self and allow you to feel from them. No, I've walked away from that when they weren't my person going, that was really interesting and that was really fun. And there was nothing bad that happened.
Right.
I felt like my time and my energy and everything was worth it. All of it was worth going and meeting them, even though they weren't the right person. Because I said, well, look at all the good things that showed up. I'm getting closer and I have to just get more concentrating on these couple things that weren't there. I never left feeling discouraged or frustrated when I started doing it this way.
Amazing how it works.
It's amazing. So we're here to teach you to do this amazing thing that nobody knows how to do, because nobody just knows how to date, because nobody's taught you. Like when you go take lessons on pickleball, you haven't been taught how to do this, but we're here, we're ready. We would love to teach you and have you start feeling more brave. It's such a...
I just want to say, we're teaching dating, not pickleball.
I wouldn't know how to teach pickleball, so that would be a problem. Please don't sign up for that. Dating, yes.
Yes.
How to date very effectively and bravely. I like that moniker a lot.
Yes.
So if you would like to talk to me, and I would sure like to talk to you to find out where you are in your process of dating and see if we might be interested in working together, because it's kind of like a first meeting to decide if we'd like to work together, I'm going to send you back to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. And I came up with that name because the name is meant, the tagline, if you see on my card and my website, learn how to be the perfect catch and then you'll attract the perfect catch, because that's what I learned for myself and that's what I teach my clients. So when you're on the homepage, scroll to the middle, you'll see a questionnaire called What's Holding You Back from Love. Click on that. 10 brief questions that'll give us both an idea of where you are. I'm happy to talk on the phone or Zoom. Then you schedule that complimentary call with me at your convenience. Also on the website, if you go to the top, you'll see I have an ebook that's free. It's all my columns put together that I wrote for about 10 years with all my dating advice broken out into subjects. Would be happy to give it to you. Would be so excited to hear what you think about it. You can also join my mailing list. You'll get repeats of this sent, our wonderful show to you sent every week in your email box. And then you also can keep updated on what's going on in my life. If you scroll to the bottom, you'll see all my social media icons of Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube. And if you click on YouTube, you'll get to see Barry and I, my parade of hats, and us not looking that much older after 5 years. And there's so many different subjects. We have over 270 shows and podcasts now that you can take advantage of. And if you'd like to email me personally and privately, it's Christine@theperfectcatch.com.
Perfect.
How do people reach you, Barry?
So my stuff, as I said in the show, you go to my website, which is my name, barryselby.com. And again, you can jump on my calendar, click the button at the top. At the bottom of the homepage is an option to jump into my email list. You just be in my audience. That way you'll get an email every week from me, including replays of the show and everything else I'm working on. I've got some big things happening this year. So you might want to get ahead of the curve and just jump onto the email list right there. If you get my calendar, you'll also get my email list. So you don't have to do both. At the middle of the page on my homepage on my website is the first of my two assessments. Call them quizzes or assessments, whatever word you want to use. The first one is basically a relationship readiness assessment. Are you ready for a relationship? It sounds like a simple question, but there's more to it than that. So you take the quiz that I've got on my homepage, button in the middle of the screen, or you can go to barryselby.com/quiz. You can type it in the URL yourself. And that'll give you a chance to really look at where you are looking at relationships from your perspective. The other one I've got, the second one, which you can't get to a button yet, you have to type in the URL, which is barryselby.com/self-quiz. That takes you to a self-relationship assessment. Basically, how's your relationship with yourself? And bravery may be one of the questions you want to ask yourself in that one. That covers 7 deep areas, and it asks you lots of questions to really give you clarity on where you are lined up, what's missing, what can be better, and you get a full PDF report to go with it. So you'll have lots of information to give you inspiration, tips, and guidance where you want to go. And all of those give you an invitation to work with me as well. So don't worry, I'll be in touch. If you want to check out my book, which I've had for a while, that's on my book page of my site. You can click on the navigation bar or type in barryselby.com/book. That's my best-selling book called 50 Ways to Love Your Lover, which gives you 50 principles for healthy relationships for you and other people and how to be in relationship. If you're not sure if you want to buy it yet, at the top of that page is a little 12, 13-minute video, audio track that was created through an AI app. So basically, it's 2 very professional sounding voices discussing my book. So you get a review of my book, so you get to know what it's like before you buy it. There's a freebie for you. If you want to find me on social media under my name, Barry Selby, you can find me on YouTube, where all of these shows get played, plus another 1,000 other videos I have up there. But I'm also Barry Selby on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Pinterest, and on Blue Sky. If you want to find me on Instagram or Threads, it's the real Barry Selby. There's a history about that, but that way you find me in both places. And again, if you want to send me an email, you can send me one at barryselby.com.
And we are here every Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern and all the times in between live. And you can submit questions like we got earlier. That's so much fun. And then you can watch repeats of our show on YouTube and on Roku. But you could take us with you too, Barry, right?
Yes, because this show not only is a video, it's also an audio. so the show is also put out as a podcast on all the major podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have a podcast platform you listen to podcasts on, look for our show, Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. And you can listen to, as Christine said, 270 episodes out there. Well, there will be 270 up there soon because they get put up after the videos go out. But basically, you can binge listen. So you can find a topic that really speaks to you, just find the episode in the list of choices and just listen to it right there. It's great if you're out driving, going along on road trips, or as you're going shopping, going to the gym. You can stay plugged in, tuned in, and learn about dating right there wherever you are. So have a listen to us.
And we would love for you to put in a review and like us and share it with your friends and family that are having some challenges in their dating relationships as well. And we will be back next week with another interesting subject about dating and relationships on Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry.
We'll see you then.